Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to your Steeler Nation podcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises. I'm your host, G.Stryker, and it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers are stuck in Canada for another year, eh? Now that the decision has been made to keep them, let's look at the pros and cons of Matt Canada. Last week on the show, I know I went into in depth for the statistics before and after the bye week. Marked improvements, significant improvements on third down, being like tops in the league on third down after the bye. Red zone improved, ball security improved dramatically, rushing yardage spiked. Najee was great after the bye, and that was the catalyst for us recovering from that 2-6 start to that 7-2 finish in the second half of the season. By the time the season was over, honestly, we could hang with any team in the league. I felt confident going up against anyone, even in that Ravens game. I mean, that was a really tough fought game, but we were in it the entire game, ended up winning at the end. I felt we could have done that with any team. We definitely would have been a tougher out than the Dolphins. Dolphins put up a good fight against the Buffalo Bills, being division opponents. They know each other well, but I'd like to think that the Steelers would have done a bit better against the Bills. The pros then of this offense to me as well, it's like the execution of the jet motion really got really good in the last 4 weeks of the season. It gave the team 7 options to run out of that one play. You run that jet sweep, that's number one. You can hand it to the fullback quickly. You can hand it to the running back, the halfback, to Najee on the second option, who usually runs a counter to the opposite direction. Play action pass right off of the first option to the fullback, play action pass off the second option to Najee, and you could also run a delayed sweep to the other side where the line would shift and run the other direction, and one of the other receivers would grab it and run the other way with it. So, yes, this was a college offense, but watching pros execute it was absolutely fantastic to watch and really confusing for the defense, really minimizing Roquan Smith, especially in that second game with all of that motion, especially with all those looks off of that single play, just that jet sweep play, the jet sweep pre-snap motion. Now, we have to get better at moving into longer routes and making better route trees to help expand Kenny Pickett's role to run that offense. But at least with that to build on, that's a good thing to build on. Has to expand from there. Now, my negativity, the cons for Canada, we all have cons for Canada. I know that. I hear you all the time. We talk all the time on Steeler Nation, talk all the time on the vidcasts on Tuesdays. But currently, his playbook is limited. He manages down and distance quite well, but doesn't take those shots down the field. Like, the offense doesn't really limit itself to taking those shots down the field. We're going to be in third and short, but if we have a mistake, if there is we have to fall on a fumble, if we have any penalty whatsoever, it bogs down this offense. That's why it needs to open up to give those options, which we started to see toward the end of the season. Kenny Pickett allowing to take those bigger shots down the field, especially in that Cleveland game. Looked like he was doing a really good job, especially when we got into third and long situations. So my question then for the front office and the coaches is, do you think Matt Canada is the right chance to develop your young franchise quarterback? That's what this is completely about. They both came in the same year. Or actually, Canada was technically on this team a year before, because if the Steelers' offensive scheme struggles next year, it'll be 2 years wasted with Kenny Pickett developing him. And he'll have to learn a new offensive scheme with someone else. So we have now Steeler fans, we have to hope that Canada works out. Because if he doesn't, this might be like a Cordell Stewart situation. When he came in and Cowher kept ripping through offensive coordinators, and that completely hindered his development. He had all the skill in the world. Could not develop, kept changing schemes, made it really difficult for Cordell, who was already the third best quarterback in Steeler history, according to our votes in Steeler Nation. He would have been even better. Absolutely would have been even better. Probably given us a chance to win a Super Bowl with those teams. But I don't want that same hindrance happening with Kenny Pickett. So we've got to pray that this works out. We've seen the offense work and become more dynamic when it was run in Pittsburgh, when it was run in Maryland. So that's what we need out of you, Matt Canada. Put on the big boy pants, open up the playbook, and develop our franchise. So now it is time on the show for Questions from Steeler Nation, sponsored by Manscaped. Go on over there to manscaped.com. Grab the Platinum Package. It comes with all this stuff. You get the lawnmower trimmer. You get the weed whacker ear and nose trimmer. You get ball deodorant. You get body wash. You get 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. They'll throw in boxer briefs with a special pouch for the boys and a travel bag to keep it all in one spot. Get it all. Manscaped, for turning your player into an MVP. And we know what the P stands for, right? Yeah, you know me. You down with MVP? Use promo code SteelerNation, all caps, all one word, to get 20% off your order and free shipping. Don't get your sack sacked. Protect your balls with products from Manscaped. All these questions come from the SteelerNation.com football forum. It is free to join. You want your questions asked, you got to go over there for it, guys. Otherwise, you can come and ask them live on Tuesdays on the vidcast, over on YouTube, over on Facebook, over on Twitter, over on the Gram. We have fun with it. First questions come from Blitz. Striker. Do you see any way we keep Flores for one more year? Yes, I do see a chance of keeping Flores for one more year. Personally, I think if he's not offered a head coaching spot that he wants, that is probably the only way that I see him moving off of this roster. I mean, offensive coordinator jobs, defensive coordinator jobs going to come up. I think he probably lean more toward the DC side, but there's like 10 offensive coordinator jobs open in the NFL right now as we speak. I don't know if that's something he wants to get into. I know Kenny Pickett mentioned in his podcast on Hayward's podcast just a couple days ago that Flores reached out to him and helped him with some certain things to help him develop into the quarterback that he is. So that's big too. Talking about managing 2-minute warning, trying to get a chunk play to work in, getting the ball down the field, managing down and distance and having a shot at the end of games, managing that time different than college. Really, really great podcast that Hayward put out. I highly recommend you guys watching that. But I don't think that's where his skill set lies. So if he's not happy with any of these other coordinator positions that open, if he's not offered a true head coaching position, he's just kind of interviewing as the Rooney Rule candidate or one of 2 Rooney Rule candidates that I believe that now have to be interviewed for the head coaching positions, then he will return to the Steelers and we'll be happy to have him. Now it might become to the point where the Steelers go, well, do you want us to make you the assistant head coach? And that's up to him, because I think he did not want that last year. He easily could have had it, but having those coordinator options open, I think him going into the Steelers situation, not knowing how it was, gave him the option to come out and do what he wanted after the first year if he wanted to leave. Otherwise, he's still here. We'd love to have him back. Tomlin, I know, is for sure, and Austin and the entire team is happy to have him on this team helping out with the linebackers. I know we'll have to revamp the inside linebackers again, and we're developing Robinson underneath of him as well. So it would be interesting to see what we can do in year 2 with him as well. Second question coming on over from Mad Insomniac. Striker, rank the positions by starters depth heading into the offseason. All right. It's a big question, but this is a short show this week, so I'm taking this one. Quarterback, we're set with starter. We got KP. We have a backup in Trubisky already on the roster. We need a third. And if we need I'm just going strictly on who we have now with no movements, no draft. So we need a third quarterback. Offensive line starters are set. All 5 starters are returning next year. The depth is set too, pretty much. So we have room to upgrade in the draft, but we really don't have to do much. Running backs 1 and 2 are done. Najee and Warren are set. We need a third. Snell's a free agent. Fullback, DJ's gone. Derek Watt is not on the roster. Does that mean we move Connor into that slot? If so, that spot's already filled. I think he could play fullback and third tight end in this offense, the way it's run. because we can bring in another offensive lineman for a third tight end. Not a huge deal, especially if it's a blocking set. But having him rotationally coming in at tight end every once in a while always helps. He's a scat back. He can play fullback. I like him in that role. We're set with tight end at the 1 spot with Muth. We've got Connor coming in for the 3. We need a 2. I'm hoping they re-sign Gentry. Otherwise, we got to draft one. Wide receivers, we got the bookends done. DJ and George Pickens, they are set. Hopefully, Austin can come back in that slot role for us because we need a slot. We've got a lot of depth. Sims did well, but I think he can be upgraded, especially with the kick punt return as well. So I think the Steelers, if they're going to draft a receiver this season, they're going to take a quick twitch guy that can either play slot or X that is also a kick and punt returner. Going on the defensive side, you got Hayward returning. You've got Adams returning. You do not have a slot for Okunjobi, who is now gone. So do you draft a new nose tackle? Leal, is he going to be the plug-and-play guy there? Is it Loudermilk? We'll have to see, but we do have the depth there to move up into it. But looking for the Steelers to draft a defensive lineman. Probably a nose. Outside linebacker, we are set at starters. We got 2 excellent starters with Watt and Highsmith. We need a number 3. That is going to be drafted. Inside linebacker. Right now, our starters are Robinson and Jack. 7th rounder and Miles Jack. Hopefully they get Spillane back in free agency. He'd be a big priority sign in my opinion, but we got to draft one because Marcus Allen is also a free agent. So Bush is gone. So we have 2 returning inside linebackers for the 5 that we had. We've got to pick up a lot of guys to fill those roles. Hopefully bringing back Spillane. That would help out the short term for the big 3 and then rotational depth, special teamers. Brilliant. Safety. Fitz is a lock at free safety. Strong safety, we don't have one. And we don't have depth on the roster because Joseph, KZ, Edmonds, all free agents. We've got to bring somebody back. Killebrew, I know, is on the roster, but he's more a special teams guy than actually a fill-in for defense. So we're looking to draft either safety depth or a starting strong safety this year. Might go high. Might be a high slot. Talking about slot corner. Millett's there. He can be upgraded. Cornerback-wise, on the roster currently, WJ3, Wallace, and Witherspoon. So you've got decent depth. I know Pierre's up. I know Sutton's up. Might be bringing those guys back. Probably have to do some structure work with WJ3 to return him, but I think that might be an either or. I think WJ3 might be our guy if Sutton leaves in free agency because he's rostered. He can't go anywhere. So those are the options. That's going to be a crazy one. So yes, I'm looking to draft a corner as well. Outside corner, outside shutdown corner. Hopefully somebody to pair with either WJ3 or Sutton and or both to work him in, have him run the show the following year because WJ3 is only on 1 more year of that contract unless they sign him to a new one. For special teams, kicker, punter, long snapper, we're set. Don't have to do anything there. Maybe bring in an undrafted rookie free agent punter to compete with Presley Harvin III, but he gets better as the years go on. I think he's going to be returning as well. BK Week 28, is there a legitimate hope for improved offense next year with Canada? That's all we have right now is hope. I'm hoping, like we talked about early in the show, I'm hoping the playbook expands. We've got to extrapolate on Kenny Pickett's talents, which is throwing the football. So work with him, work with Sullivan there, developing Kenny Pickett into the primary passer that we need him to be. Lunar's question, Conan, what is best in life? Well, if I can remember back to Arnie, you crush your enemies, see them driven out before you, and hear the lamentation of the women. Great movie. Great question. Thank you for that one, Lunar. I always love the change-ups. Drake Iron City closing it out today. As always, Stryker, thank you for doing these. Any insight to the personal matter Coach Tomlin is attending to? No, I have zero insight on that. It was all speculation. We were playing with it a bit on the vidcast on Tuesday, but if Tomlin says it's a personal matter, it's a personal matter. Tomlin doesn't play games. He's a straight shooter. I mean, it might come to the point where we never know why he took time off. But if it ends up being something big It will come out. We will learn about it. But right now, I'll respect his privacy, and he'll be back. So second question from DIC. Exit interviews have been delayed. How will that affect total outcome, replacements, firings, if any? It's probably zero. I think all the decisions have already been made by Coach Tomlin. He's an extremely organized guy. He's the second longest tenured coach in the NFL. So, I mean, he understands what he's going to do going into the offseason. He knows what his conversations are going to be. He knows what he wants his coaching staff to look like next year. So I don't see anything negative being about him taking time off, other than he needs some deserved time off. The man eats and breathes football. Next question. Who would be the top candidate for offensive coordinator if we had one available? I was really intrigued with bringing in Joe Lombardi. The guy's just a football mind. Obviously, he's a legacy grandson of Vince Lombardi. He won a Super Bowl with New Orleans and Breeze when he was their quarterbacks coach. While he was quarterbacks coach, he had them 4 seasons where Breeze was like over 5,000 yards. He was over in Detroit for a year in 2014. That was the only year Matt Stafford made the Pro Bowl in Detroit while he was the quarterback coach. He helped develop Herbert with the Chargers the last 2 years. I mean, the guy really has a nice pedigree, in my opinion. I think he'd be a great add to this team in some way, shape, or form. Maybe I'd be happy just bringing him in to the fold if he's not going to be an offense. Somebody's going to there's 10 vacancies open. Somebody's got to make Joe an offense coordinator somewhere, but I'd be happy to bring him in the fold as a special offensive consultant to help that. And maybe if we have issues with Canada, plug and play. That would be I'd rather go that way than Sullivan, to tell you the truth. Last question. I heard Coach Tomlin makes $8 to $9 million per year. Is that accurate? And is that in line with other coaches around the league? Actually, when I looked it up here, Drink Iron City, Tomlin makes $12.5 million a year. A lot more than what we thought initially. If you're asking about where he fits in, I know Harbage and Reed, Harbaugh for Ravens, and Andy Reid, they make $12 million. So he's making $500,000 more than those guys. McVay makes $14 million. So he makes more than Tomlin. Haven't been in the league nearly as long. Carroll, $15 million. Belichick, he's at $20 million. So these guys are obviously being paid for the duration that they're on their teams. And with Tomlin being the second most tenured coach, $12.5 million is a steal, considering that Belichick has $20 million a season. These guys that I talked about too, Tomlin, Harbaugh, Reed, McVay, Carroll, Belichick, those are the 6 longest tenured coaches in the league. So really your salary and coaching, it's linked to your success, but it's also linked to your tenure. Every time you sign another contract, you're getting a bump in pay. So that's the way it's going to roll. He's going to get another bump in pay when he signs a new contract, but we'll have to see what that's going to look like. Snow has all left, so the deer can now scrounge for food. I'm putting out a protein block for them. That is awesome. Life is good. Glad to hear about it. That is awesome, Drink Iron City. I'm glad you always share a part of your life as well with us while you're making your dinner and enjoying our show. Guys, that's all the time we have on the show. I might get to a couple comments too offline here when I'm finished up, but go check out our sponsor at tseshop.com. Great items over there. Follow them on Twitter at TotalSportsENT. They're giving stuff away every day. Follow the vidcast over there at YouTube. We do that 7 o'clock every Tuesdays, so subscribe to our YouTube channel to know when that's popping up and to know when I record in secret. I've got my secret fans over here too, checking out the cast as we're doing it live. Read our great Pittsburgh Steeler-focused articles at SteelerNation.com. Big changes coming up to the website Monday, so swing on by on Monday and check to see the new website and all that neat changes that are coming along with that. Follow us at SteelerNation.com. Tweet us at SteelerNation. Instagram and Facebook, SteelerNation.com. Follow the Steeler Nation podcast on Twitter at _SN podcast, or follow me, your host, Steeler Nation Striker, on the grams, on the tweets, on the tickety talks at SN Striker. Striker spelled with a Y. Why? Because I love doing it. That's all the time we have on the Steeler Nation podcast. sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises. I'm your host, G.Stryker, rooting along with you as always. Go Steelers! I'm making myself laugh here today, guys. I'll check out your comments here quick because you know I'm not going to jump off without talking to you. Hey, Miles! What we could do, bring on Leftwich as a passing coordinator. If Canada doesn't show up and improve next season, we get rid of him and promote Leftwich. I'd love that. I would love to bring in Leftwich in some way, shape, or form. Because like I said, a nice plug and play, whether it's lefty, whether it's Lombardi. I love to have a plug and play coach in case Canada doesn't work out. Boom, we've already got our guy vetted, ready to roll, and we're going. Robert, hey, how you doing, man? I see your point about the offense hindering because of penalties. Our O-line did us no favors, but when they started to gel together, our offense picked up a bit, and our end zone offense needs to improve. Yes, it does. Red zone definitely needs to improve. When Mike T didn't throw the flag first, Pickett touchdown pass game was only disallowed as a touchdown because Mike Tomlin's failure to do so when the most basic attack, throw a red flag when needed. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%, Robert. I think that there's an issue with the Steelers not having a dedicated person in the booth watching TV replays to know when to throw that damn flag because it's not helping them out when they're all sitting on the sideline looking at the same crap and they don't get those angles. Because it's a hindrance to us because that'll stop us from getting touchdowns. It'll stop us from getting turnovers or lead to turnovers or helping out the other team to get scores. So those are always the most important reasons to use those flags. Team with a strong red zone performance is all smoke and mirrors. Steelers the last few years. Bro, hello fam. How you doing, bro, Barbarian? Always great to hear from you. Great pot. Thanks, Miles. I appreciate that, man. There's been a lot to hear about Jordan Addison to the Steelers. Kenny has been really hyping up and vouching for him, saying he wants him drafted. The Steelers try and make Kenny happy with Addison. It would be nice. I think he would have to drop to the second round for that to happen. I don't see that happening for Addison. I don't see the Steelers using that 17 pick for Addison unless he's BPA. But with 5 quarterbacks going, 4 definitely, possibly 5 quarterbacks going, we're going to have a big corner dropping. We're going to have a big tackle dropping. I mean, this is going to be a sweet spot for the Steelers to draft here at 17, giving us a lot of options, a lot of holes to fill with that big spot. I just don't think that we can throw first round money at when we're already established with the 2 starters that we have at wide receiver. He'd be a luxury. And if he's there for the first pick in the second round, I take him. That's definitely an option. But for there at 17, I don't think that's an option for me personally. Last one, we've ended with you, Robert. Honestly, objectively, Stryker, do you think Steelers getting their money's worth with both the highest paid defense of any football team ever and penultimate highest paid coach of any team ever? He's not penultimate. He's the 4th highest paid coach right now currently. But yeah, objectively, yes, because his tenure dictates his price. The defense was playing their balls off. Once they got everybody back, KZ and Watt after the bye, this top paid team does play like a top paid team when they're all back and healthy. And I think we can play with anybody when we have that in there. But great question, man. Miles, so would you be happy with pick 22? Pick 30. So would you be? Yes, pick 32. I would take Addison pick 32. If he fell to 32, definitely an option. And I think that that's something that the Steelers would definitely think about as well. Though I think that pick 32, it's going to be the only time we can't run up to the podium. And it's a coveted pick in the draft. Everybody wants the top pick in the second round. That's a big, because everybody's got a full day, didn't get their guy in the first round, want to jump up and get that pick. This might be one of the few opportunities the Steelers ever trade back. And the only way they'd be trading back is to swap picks and probably get a future first round draft pick. So if we drop back 10 spots to bank a first rounder for next year, I do it. I absolutely do it. And that might happen this year. I'd be absolutely floored if it does. Great talking to you guys. Guys, I'll see you on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We'll go over all the fun stuff too then. And obviously, I love the conversation as always. See you, Miles. See you, bro. See you, Rob. Talk to you then.